Okay, so here's a cooking question. What's the secret ingredient to your meatloaf? Like, seriously, tell me. Put it in the comments. I'll tell you mine. It's hi-ho crackers. It's one that I got from my mom. And a lot of y'all are probably saying, what in the world is a hi-ho cracker? Well, it was the cracker before Ritz. And despite the fact that they haven't been made since the 90s, my family still calls them hi-ho crackers, but you can just use Ritz. All of your family recipes, I don't think there's anything more personal than meatloaf, right? Like, you have to be really confident in your meatloaf to trot that out to anybody except family because, nobody thinks that anybody's meatloaf is better than their mama's. And I'm no exception. This is my mama's meatloaf recipe, and I just don't think it gets any better than this. Another question I get is, what recipe will I pass down to my family? Well, it's probably this meatloaf. This recipe is pretty simple. You're going to start with 2 pounds of ground beef. Now, when you're making meatloaf, you don't want the leanest beef that there is. You want it actually to have a little bit of fat, or otherwise you're just biting into just a big chunk of beef, and that's no good. You're going to mix in a couple of teaspoons of salt, a little bit of pepper, some smoked paprika, and I usually throw in some oregano, and then also about a cup of mixed chopped vegetables. I use the frozen kind in the grocery store. Toss in a couple of eggs, 2 cups of tomato juice, and then a sleeve of hi-ho crackers. Mix all the ingredients together and then spread this in a 13 by 9 pan. I like to cook my meatloaf thin. That way it cooks quicker, doesn't dry out as much, and you have more surface to ketchup ratio, which is very important. Now, I bake it at 375 degrees until a temperature probe reads 165. Be sure to spread it with a good amount of ketchup about halfway through the baking time. You can make 1 pan and eat on it for several days. Nothing better than leftover meatloaf. This is a great recipe, and I say bring this past to present.